coronavirus, my experience during the clinical trials. As a woman over the age of 60 with type 2 diabetes, I was eager to put my body on the line for science. The experience was challenging in ways I didn't expect. Please like and subscribe to my channel. My injection went through a randomizer so no one, including me, would know if I received the vaccine or a placebo. I emerged from the nondescript medical office building in one of the undisclosed medical facility for trials. The enrollment process had required 3 in-person visits over the course of a month, but at last I was an official participant in the coronavirus vaccine clinical trial run by Janssen Pharmaceutica, a Belgium-based division of Johnson & Johnson. I had been given an injection, a painless prick high up on my left deltoid, but I didn't know whether it was the experimental COVID-19 vaccine or a placebo. Either way, I was ready to put my body on the line for science. When I first became interested in taking part in a coronavirus vaccine trial, I assumed all I'd need to do to get picked was raise my hand. I thought the same characteristics that raised my coronavirus risk, women over 60 type 2 diabetic, would also make me highly sought after as a trial participant. But it took 4 applications with 3 different companies and more than 3 months to get that coveted shot, which, in the end, may turn out to have been salt water. During the trials, I was taking my usual medication for my diabetes. I left the building with my very own bag of medical swag, including an oral thermometer to monitor my body temperature, an oximeter to record my pulse rate and blood oxygen level, and a ruler to measure any injection site redness or swelling, and also a lot of complicated feelings about the experience. Why I volunteered to be a COVID vaccine guinea pig. I was one of the first volunteer to release coronavirus data by race. The numbers showed the disparate impact of the virus on people of colors and were soon confirmed by the skyrocketing COVID-19 rates in other cities with high Black, Hispanic and other race in the populations at large. When the myth began circulating on social media that people were somehow immune to COVID-19 and 5 people sent me a link to the Plandemic conspiracy theory video in one day, I could see how the community's well-justified skepticism about the healthcare system would exacerbate the coronavirus crisis we were facing. In late July, Pfizer and Moderna began recruiting 60,000 Americans for late-stage clinical trials of their coronavirus vaccines. I saw volunteering as a chance to make sure that men and women were adequately represented in the research and could demonstrate that the vaccine is safe for any race in every community in the country. Most people thanked me for my willingness to roll up my sleeve for the greater good, but others expressed surprise and sometimes outrage at my willingness to become a human guinea pig. Without guinea pigs, where would we be? In spring I found that more than 30% of the other volunteers respondents. Personally, I know someone who died from COVID-19. December Pew study found that only 42% of the adults said they would get the vaccine, down 2 points from a survey taken in mid-June. The diversity dilemma of COVID vaccine trials. People have many reasons to distrust a public health system that has used our bodies for experimentation without care or consent. Because factors like age, gender, and ethnic background can influence how an individual reacts to a drug, our willingness, informed participation in clinical trials are essential to ensure that we can benefit optimally from the end product. Black Americans make up about 13% of the US population, but on average only 5% of clinical trial participants. For Hispanics, Asian American trial participation is about 2% on average, though they account for about 18% of the population. Pfizer and Moderna touted diversity as a priority for their Phase 3 coronavirus vaccine trials launched over the summer. I responded to several solicitations looking for volunteers in the area, feeling confident I would be picked. Participants would receive 2 shots, an initial vaccine, or placebo, then a booster shot, or placebo, about a month later. They would record any side effects from the vaccination, commonly pain or soreness near the injection site, headaches, muscle aches, fatigue, and fevers, in an electronic diary that would be tracked by the researchers. The vaccine would make you feel bad for a day or 2, I thought, but wouldn't make you sick. That's a small price to pay for protection, in my opinion. Who is chosen to participate in a COVID vaccine trial? Many white, black and Latinos and Asian American friends were all selected for the PMG-run Pfizer trial. Retired manufacturing executive was recruited because she was in the database after participating in a study for people with celiac disease a year earlier. A university professor told me she wanted to put her body on the line to help others. She believes she got the vaccine and not a placebo because she developed a mild fever, 99.5 to 100.0 degrees Fahrenheit, the day after her first injection. She usually doesn't run fevers and haven't had one since. She thinks she got the placebo because she had no side effects. As I waited for the call that never came, in early October, Moderna announced that it had failed to recruit enough Black, Latino, and Native American participants in its study. To make up for the shortfall, the firm slowed enrollment and instructed centers to increase participation among minority volunteers. I applied again and waited. Still nothing. 2 COVID vaccine breakthroughs. On November 9, Pfizer and its partner BioNTech announced their vaccine was over 90% effective in preventing coronavirus infection. After a final evaluation of the data, the companies adjusted the number up to 95%. Moderna one-upped them a week later with a vaccine that was 94.5% effective. A final evaluation of the data put the percentage at 94.1%. Several factors had come together to make a safe, effective vaccine possible in months rather than years: the fierce urgency to return to a life and an economy resembling normal, governments willing to remove bureaucratic roadblocks and spend whatever it takes, and the speedy deployment of a synthetic form of a genetic molecule called messenger RNA, mRNA, that greatly reduced the requisite time frame for vaccine development. By the time I was called for the Phase 3 Janssen study, I felt less urgency about participating. After all, what was the point if Pfizer and Moderna got to the finish line first? My COVID vaccine trial experience: after I answered a few health screening questions via telephone in mid-November, the study coordinator scheduled an in-person visit and sent me an informed consent document, which explained the process and detailed my responsibilities. I would need to make periodic trips to the clinic for blood draws, saliva samples, and nasal swabs, and I was expected to report any side effects on an app downloaded onto my phone. I was also told to expect periodic telephone checks on my health, and tracking my other concerns on being a diabetes. I arrived at the research site the next day but was told the intake of people in my demographic had been paused for several days. During my rescheduled visit about a week later, health workers recorded my height, weight, blood pressure, and body temperature and took 3 vials of blood. Progress stopped when we tried to download and use the app. We gave up after an hour. I agreed to come back when the problem was resolved, which turned out to be more than 3 weeks later. When I returned on December, so much time had passed that my health assessment had to be redone to make sure my baseline was accurate. The nurse flubbed the blood draw twice because, according to her, my veins kept rolling. Perhaps they were following my eyes. I suggested she try the other arm. The third time was the charm. "I'm just here to get the boogers," the doctor said when he arrived about 10 minutes later. This required using a nasal swab to administer the COVID-19 test. Counting aloud, 1, 2, 3, he swirled higher and higher in my left and then right nostril. Finally, the injection. The Janssen vaccine differs from those by Pfizer and Moderna in that instead of mRNA, it uses a genetically modified adenovirus, a type of virus that typically causes colds or flu-like symptoms. Notably, the Janssen vaccine requires 1 injection, not 2. I waited for my shot to go through a randomizer so no one, including me, would know if I received the placebo or the vaccine. After receiving my injection, I recorded my health checks daily for the first week, then continued to do so every Monday and Thursday after that. I know to seek immediate medical care if I experience stroke-like symptoms, blood clots. How would I know? Confusion, bluish lips or face, or new difficulty breathing. I experienced no side effects from the shot, which leads me to believe I was injected with the placebo. The constant focus on my breathing, blood pressure, and body temperature already feels like a chore that sometimes spikes my anxiety levels. What comes next? My next visit to the research site is scheduled in about a month, although I suspect my 2-year trial could be cut short. While the research would continue, my double-blind placebo study might be shut down. The success of the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines changed the game for participants in the Janssen trial, especially volunteers in the placebo group. During a pandemic in which an American dies of COVID-19 every minute, it's unethical to withhold life-saving vaccines for 2 years. Soon enough the trial will be unblinded and I can confirm whether I received a vaccine or a placebo. If I haven't received a vaccine already, I expect to get it then. In the meantime, I will go about life like I have for the past 9 months, social distancing, wearing a mask, washing my hands, and staying home. Just because I'm in the 9th inning, I can't stop doing the things that gave me the lead. But, damn. I'll be glad when this is all over. So, people, are you going to get your shot? Let me know on the comment below. For more update on coronavirus, hit like, share and subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See you on my next video. Ma salama.